Hello everyone, my name is Jasbir Hanjra. I am going to present today software framework. The agenda for this presentation is we are going to discuss about what is actually the software framework, framework features, framework benefits, framework advantages, framework challenges. Let us understand what is actually a software framework. So basically it is an abstraction between the software which is providing you a generic functionality and that can be selectively changed by additional user written code. So you have a piece of code which is providing you some kind of generic functionality, and you can write additional code to take advantage of that generic code. That is actually your framework. What else framework do? A framework defines the flow of control for the application. It defines basically how the information should flow from point A to Z. A framework is basically encapsulate shared libraries, image files, it can have header files, it can have documentation, basically in a single package. What are the ideal features a framework should have? The most important thing, it should be simple, because whenever we are designing any framework or if we are planning to use a framework, if it is not simple, then it has no value. So the framework should be very simple to understand and implement. It should be extensible. We should extend it if we want to. It should be consistent. Very important feature. It shouldn't change. A consistent framework allows us to transfer knowledge between parts of the framework that you know and that you are trying to learn. Borrow from the past. It should have all the best practices, proven work process history into the current build. So whatever we learned from the past, the current framework should have all that information. It should be able to evolve in the future. What's that mean? It should have ability to evolve in the future, and at same time it should be able to preserve backward compatibility. Should be able to integrate. Very important feature. Framework should be able to integrate well with a large ecosystem, let us say, which can have different tools, programming language, application models, etc., etc. Simple things should be simple, and complex thing should be possible when you are using a framework. That's the whole idea behind any framework. It should allow to build reusable components. Of course, that's the biggest advantage of using framework. We should be able to reuse components. It should have some kind of a default useful behavior. It shouldn't be like just a piece of code which is not doing something useful. Inversion of control. It should flow of control shouldn't be dictated by the caller. It should be handled by the framework. That is very important feature. The framework should have that. The flow of the control should be handled by the framework. Non-modifiable framework code. That is the best practice. Once the code is there, once the framework is there, we should we should be able to extend it, but we shouldn't change the default framework code. Let us talk about framework advantages. Why we need a framework? First, most important thing is it reduces time and energy. You already have the code, you have basically a generic code, and now you can extend it. So you can save time and energy, you can save time and money. It provides a standard working system. You have a generic standard system. Now you can extend it. You can develop whatever the desired module you want to develop, or just complete application instead of developing lower level details. You don't have to learn what's going on at a lower level. You already have a code and you can just extend it. When we are using a framework, we can devote more time in developing the software requirement, not actually just looking at what environment we should use or what tool we should use, because we already have a framework. Framework follow design pattern. So what's that mean? You have to follow the coding convention, and what will be the advantage? It will be a big help that your code is going to be very clean and it is going to be extensible for future purpose. Framework separate business logic from user interface. That's beautiful, right? Because what will happen? Your code is going to be very clean code. You have your business logic is totally separate from your user interface, and you can always extend it. Framework help you to develop the project rapidly. For sure, you already have 30, 40 or 60% work is already done for you. If you know one framework, then you will never worry that, oh, my project deadline is this, how I'm going to achieve that. You already have some work is already done for you. Framework challenge. Of course, there is always plus and minus for everything. For framework also, there are challenges also. What is the first challenge? For a new user, it's very hard to use the framework. Why? Because framework is a complex abstract. It has everything. I shouldn't say everything, but it has lot of things inside, and a new user has to spend some time to understand the concept, the function, and how to use it. Another most important thing, we think that once we have framework, it's going to work everywhere. That's not true. Why? Because one size doesn't fit all. You have to change it. So there is always a need to extend the framework. Frameworks are not actually for the smaller projects. Why? Because in a simple project, custom coding, you just start it, do the custom coding, that will be way more faster than actually setting up a framework and then extending it. Framework support and enhance the efficiency and productivity of the application development. That's a very true statement. But it faces some problems in some specific domains. As I mentioned before, one size doesn't fit all. In few particular domains, sometimes framework doesn't support them well, and you can see there are a couple of domains: music composition, mechanical CAD, financial modeling, media playback, and middleware, and there are a couple of more. Thank you very much for your time. This was Jasbir Hanjra. Thank you.